That's funny. Hey, everybody, I'm Tommy, and you were on the boat. Jane Aldridge, good to see you. Chow Young Smut, that'd be Cricket. Good to see you, Barbara Waite. See that? I'm reading people. And that is a good thing. Barbara Aldrich, I'm glad you're here. Kristen Melinda, thanks for being here. I know the Johnny Scoville is here as well. His annoying cat is tearing up the entire house. If you see me pick something up and throw it, it will not be at a cat. It'll be at Johnny, so they'll take care of the cat. But let's be honest, your cat's a bit annoying. People, this is going to be a fun one, and I'll tell you why. Because I have said in the past that I'm going to be talking about Sean Combs. Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you, my brother. I am glad that you are here. There goes the entire. We're having a parade, so there's going to be a little bit of noise. It's, there's 2 nights in a row that we're having a parade.
Those are go-karts, right?
Oh, it's a go-kart race that is currently going on in the city. Queen Quiche, good to see you. Yeah, that'll help. Jamie Palmer. That's Johnny Scoville opening up the door, so we'll just get a little louder. Ashley G, good to see you. Caroline in Canada, I'm glad you're here. This will pass in a second. And then in about 20 minutes, it'll make another pass. I'm glad that you all are here. There is so much BS that is going on around the internet vis-a-vis Sean Combs. And in the past, you got to kind of chase this stuff down and you don't really have a foothold. So you have to start finding things. And if you were to go to AI and say, hey, is this story about Diddy and the Thanksgiving feast true? Hello, Rue. I am so glad that you are here. All they can do is go and check to see if there's something debunking it. This story started with, anybody want to take a guess? TMZ. TMZ has reported that Sean Combs, the benevolent dude that he is, decided to put on a turkey feast for 1,000 inmates. Did you catch that, Johnny Scoville?
Sure did.
1,000 inmates.
What a good man he is.
He's a good man. Say what you will.
And thorough.
And thorough. He's kind. Rock Bandy, good to see you. Renee B, how are you? And you were on time. Renee B, do you feel okay? I'm just saying, what just happened? You are here and you were here. I'm just busting your chops, but I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here on time. So he put on a spread, and a spread is a common term. Barbara Waite, good to see you. Rocket Queen, oh yeah, is a term that gets used a lot in prison. That's when a bunch of guys get together and they pool their finances and they buy some product and they put it all together and they take boiling water because it's about all you have to cook with. And you cook in trash bags with boiling water, and you start with a base of ramen noodles. Everything in prison starts with a base of ramen noodles. You may not add the flavor packet. You may just use that as an ability to stretch it a little bit further, right? But he put on a spread for 1,000 people, according to TMZ. And I say, when I hear this, well, that's BS, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. And the reason I say that is, there are not 1,000 guys in his unit, right? Units top out at about 120 to 130 guys a unit. That's where I did time. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say, because it's dorm living or whatever, let's say they put 200 guys per unit. That still means that you're going to have to deliver food to at least 4 other units, right? And allegedly, they spread this out over 5 units. And I'm sitting and thinking to myself, well, that doesn't make any sense. And here's why. Let me go over why this story is complete and utter BS. And it's one more spin to make Sean Combs look like he's such a good dude. He got there and they didn't have a budget to put on a turkey dinner for everybody. This is the story, right? Not any ramen, but top ramen. There's somebody that's done a little time. That's right. Only the best. Whippy Island Girl, good to have you. It is top ramen. But here's the deal. Number one, they had a great turkey dinner. I will be honest with you, prison food in the Feds sucks 300 and X number of days a year. I was going to say 364, but the truth is they give you a great Christmas dinner. They give you a very good Thanksgiving meal. Whatever the hell he wants to tell you, they go all out. In fact, it's famous inside the Feds where people go, hey, if they can do this one day a year, why can't they do it the rest of them? But they'll have stuffing, they'll have turkey, they'll have all that. But the story is, because they don't have enough money and shortages and all that, Diddy was going to provide a good meal for all of those inmates because they just weren't going to get one from the BOP, which alone is bullshit. However, in order to do that, you've got to go shopping. And in order to go shopping, right, you're going to have to go and get all of these products, right? Wow. See, Ashley G gets it. Wait a sec. You mean TMZ was wrong about something? Say it isn't so. Here's the thing. If they were just wrong about something, I'd almost give them a pass. I've been wrong about a lot of stuff. But that's not what's happening here. They are a spin machine. And they will tell you a story that makes Diddy look good. They'll tell you a story that makes Diddy look bad. And they will continue to do it to make cash, right? And to try to paint this guy usually in a better light. If they can't avoid the story because he gets caught drinking, they can't avoid that story. His good time is going to move. His good time credits. You can go look up Diddy. Look at when his out date is. If you see that move, he got in trouble. That date doesn't move for any other reason. That's called GTC, good time credits. It moved by 27 days. They were going to have to deal with the story. But most of what they say about this guy isn't negative. And this story, so I start saying, you know, in the prisons I was at, you can't buy a lot of turkey products at store, at commissary. So for those that don't understand, you have a bank account in prison, right? They call it your books. And on your books, your family, your loved ones, whatever, friends, girlfriends, mistresses, right? Gay lovers, Diddy, can put money on your books. Now you can go to store and shop, and you don't walk around with a grocery cart. You hand a list in, and they hand you what you're going to get, right? And inmates get pumpkin pie and turkey with cornbread dressing from me yesterday. Yeah, I mean, that's real. You do get a legitimate spread. They actually put on a decent meal at Thanksgiving. But when you go to store, you hand them a store list the night before, right? Then when you show up, there's a chute, a metal chute, and all your products come out. You put it in your laundry bag. You check it. You order a maximum per month of $360. They will not let you order that all at once. They usually make you break it up. So over the course of 2 weeks, you can spend $180. During the holidays, they bump that up by about $50, right? Hey, Kathy, but the problem becomes this. They're out of everything. Every time you go there, there's a limit to how much meat you can buy. This is the protein section of store. So since I haven't been there in a hot minute, I went and pulled the store list from Fort Dix. They have one turkey product at Fort Dix. The story says, according to one inmate, this feast was as good as grandma's. Did you catch that, Johnny Strobo?
Yeah.
This turkey feast was as good as grandma's. Okay.
Say it wasn't true.
No, they wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. There is only one turkey product on there, and it is the same one that I used to eat. It is a sausage log of sorts, but it's made of turkey for those that don't want a beef sausage. They only have one. You can't buy turkey in a packet. There are places you can. You can't at Fort Dix. So the only product comes in a quarter pound. They call it a chub in prison, a meat chub.
Yeah.
But don't give me that. 4 ounces, like you would get during the holidays from Pepperidge Farms, right? It's a 4 ounce thing. It's got a plastic seal around the outside, right? No, you can't. No, you can't. You can in the state. In the feds, there are no packages. You cannot send packages anymore in the feds. That has been done away with for a very long time. In the state, your family can put together 50 pounds of stuff, depending on the state you're in, and mail it to you. Feds don't do that. There are no packages in the federal system. None. So what they can do is go and buy meat products, but you're only going to get 12. That's your limit. So if you're the first dude that goes in, you might be able to buy 12 meat products. If you're the 40th guy to go in, they're gone. They run out of protein before they run out of anything. And the reason is guys are doing push-ups. Guys are working out. And they want to supplement the amount of protein that they get into their system, right? So they buy tons of meat products. And I said, hey, does that still happen? It's a first in, first out process in all of this. And what that means is the first thing that they run out of, they'll order more of, but they never order a larger amount. I work for the state. No, it's not misinformation at all, because you're absolutely right. There's a difference between Fed and state. They also will allow you to send clothing in the state, right? But the feds did away with everything. It was called the Zimmerman Act. A guy that took a girl across the state line and killed her. The girl happened to be a relative of a senator. And the guy that did the murder sent a picture of himself inside his cell playing video games with pictures of naked chicks on the wall behind him to Zimmerman, who wrote a bill and said, no more dirty magazines, no more weights, no more, got rid of everything, no more TVs in your cell. Inmates screw up everything for other inmates. It's kind of one of those things. But the only thing they got is a 4 ounce meat chub. A burger at McDonald's is 4 ounces of meat. So they need 1,000 of these to put a spread on? You ain't getting 1,000 of them, folks. They probably didn't order 250 of them. And all of these units are ordering them. But Diddy and a group of guys that call themselves, are you ready? It's the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. They had a group of guys who are just, they're ballers. So they call themselves the Bankroll Brothers. Nada. Ain't no chance in hell there's a group of guys in there calling them the Bankroll Brothers. That would make people really angry. There'd be some beefing back and forth. But anyway, let's just suspend disbelief and say that there's a group of ballers in there that just want to take care of all the other inmates, and they call themselves the Bankroll Brothers. Well, they all threw in on it, right? Because Diddy can't say I bankrolled the whole thing because he can only spend $360 a month. I did the math. You're looking at thousands of dollars. These meat chubs run about $2.95 a piece. So if that is all they bought, you're at that $3,000 mark. Now, you couldn't come up with that much. And critical thinking says, well, if you started buying the stuff 2 months ahead of time and you started stocking up, there's some problems with that. They don't like inmates stocking up, number one. But number two, Diddy got there 4 weeks ago, and he wasn't going to store his first couple of days there because it takes a while for your accounts to get set up and all that. So in 3 weeks of shopping, Diddy got enough stuff to feed 1,000 guys on a $360 budget. Well, and his Bankroll Brothers, right? He's thrifty. He's nothing if not thrifty and thorough. However, then they got to cook this stuff. They said that was a 2-day process to cook all of this so that they could deliver it to 5 other units, 200 meals to each unit. I say to myself, sounds like BS. I'll tell you why. There's a policy in the BOP, and I know that this is absolutely violated, but you cannot give or trade commissary with each other. Now, we do. Everybody does. And they look the other way. However, take that crap to the yard, leave your building with it, you're busted the second you walk out the door, because that means to them drugs. That means that it's contraband. If you walk out of your unit with something you made to bring to somebody else, you ain't getting it to them. There isn't food allowed in bulk out on the yards. You can bring a burrito. I mean, the cop can still take it from you, but they're not going to bust your chops. But you want me to believe you delivered 200 meals to 5 units? You got any idea what 200 meals would look like? How much Tupperware do you got? But forget all that. Suspend disbelief and say that this magic Tupperware exists. And they have literally 1,000 Tupperware, or call it 250, because they're going to break them all up and dole it out. You got to walk from your unit to the next one. You can't walk into that unit. That's called out of bounds. If you go into a unit that isn't your unit, you're going to the hole. So they would have had to meet someone on the yard, hand them 2 laundry bags full of food. None of this happened. It's a great story. People are running with it. They're getting pissed off about it. It didn't happen. Did they all get sick from the food? Sounds disgusting. It is. I'm sorry. The spreads are foul. They cook in garbage bags. We do what we can. A lot. Sure. And they're using their IDs. This is the story that TMZ released. They don't have knives, right? So they're cutting the meat chubs up with their IDs. Truthfully, they're cutting it up with a razor blade, right? If Diddy was putting a spread on, you can get as many razors as you want in prison. There is no limit to the number of razors you can get. If you go to, it seems like a bad idea. If you go to commissary, you can buy 5-blade razors or 4-blade razors. They're expensive, but you can get good razors like you get on the street. Those razors are not very good for cutting things up. They're in a V shape and they're at an angle. Trust me, I've taken these things apart. But the ones you get that they call state issue, even though they should call it federal issue, you get it at laundry. If you're indigent, if you don't have money on your books or whatever, they still got to let you shave. So they give you what looks like a big single blade, except it's made in China. They're about a penny a piece, and you got a real good chance of taking off a nose they're dangerous as hell. But the blades are that tall, they're that wide, and they're thick as hell. And everybody has one. They break the razor out and they hide the blade, usually not in your cell, usually outside on one of the bricks just outside your cell, so that when you got to cook, you go out, you grab it, and you can cut up like Goodfellas. He's cutting up the garlic. You use razor blades. However, the story says they were using IDs. They cooked for 2 days. They delivered this to. There's no chance this happened the way that they are putting this down. That's right. That's my man. Absolutely right. Made by Bob Barker. Everything in prison is made by Bob Barker. The razors are Bob Barker. The shoes are Bob Barker. The shirts are Bob Barker. Bob Barker is the manufacturer that makes everything in prison, including the soap, which the soap that Granny used to make on the Beverly Hillbillies was like Dove compared to Bob Barker soap. My man Robert can tell you, Bob Barker soap will absolutely get your hands clean. It will also remove the skin from your hands within a couple of weeks. The only thing it is good for is cleaning your own laundry. You get a 5-gallon bucket and you do it in your cell instead of bringing it to laundry where it gets washed with everybody else's stuff. Laundry in prison, you get a laundry bag. You throw all your stuff into the laundry bag. You tie the hell out of the top of it. There's a tag on it with your name. You bring that to laundry and they throw it into these big industrial sized washing machines that might have 10 or 20 of those bags in it at once. So yeah, your stuff's in with other people's, but it's inside its own bag. And the very first time you wash your stuff, it will come back brown. It's just disgusting. So most guys will do their own laundry. They do it in the cells. And Bob Barker soap will get that stuff white. It won't last very long because it's just a lie. It's the nastiest soap in the entire world, but it is Bob Barker. And I had what was called a soft shoe pass. In prison, everybody has to wear boots, right? In the feds, you have to wear boots. That's why you hear people say suited and booted, or you put the boots to them. You wear boots. That's what they issue you, almost military style. But I have had 5 Achilles tendon surgeries, so I was not forced to wear, and I had a soft shoe pass, and they bust your balls. Every time I went to chow, every time, the same cop would go, "You got a soft shoe pass?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I showed it to you twice today. I need to see it again." And you would just keep that thing on you. But I had what looked like Chuck Taylors, but they call them BBC Chucks because they're Bob Barker, Bob Barker Chucks. Really crazy stuff. Anyway, this didn't happen. And we're going to keep hearing stories that come out of there that didn't happen. And if you try to do research, they're going to say to you, here's the deal. There's nothing to disprove this. And by that, I mean the BOP didn't deny this. If Diddy gets killed, the BOP isn't going to put out a statement. I'm not kidding. I've had cellmates die. They don't put out statements. They don't comment on anything. So when TMZ goes, well, he's accused of drinking, but the BOP hasn't verified that. The BOP isn't going to verify he's at Fort Dix. They don't verify anything. They do not put out statements. This is a policy. So if you hear them go, well, he claimed to have fed 1,000 people, but the BOP hasn't said that it's not true, that doesn't prove jack. Talk to anybody that's done time in the feds and just tell the story. Hey, somebody got there on the last day of October and they put a spread on for 1,000 people over 5 units, delivered 200 meals. They're going to go, ain't no way in hell that happened. There ain't no way in hell that happened. If you walked out of your unit with 2 things of Tupperware, they're taking it. They may not send you to the hole, but they're taking it. If you try to deliver it to another unit, I don't care if it's Christmas freaking Day. That's not a spread. You're paying for drugs. The policy is in place because people pass stuff like that as a way to pay for things you're not supposed to have. Booze, drugs, whatever. Because currency doesn't exist outside of stamps. But there are people that go, the hell do I need stamps for? If you give me stamps, I got to convert the stamps and give them to somebody who's going to go to store to buy me this. So there's a lot of horse trading that goes on. But 4 ounces of turkey is just under $3. You got to have 1,000 of those if you're going to feed 1,000 people. It didn't happen. Great story. And it's supposed to make us think that Sean Combs is trying so hard. Another story that came out, it came out from a different source, says he's really struggling. The holidays are killing him. I believe they are. I absolutely believe this is hell on him. His attorneys told him, you're not going to be in there. Come out to New York, turn yourself in. We'll have you out in 2 days. You can deal with this thing and the case. He got locked up, and Rune Subramanian, the judge, said, yeah, we're not giving you bail. They went back, tried again. You're not getting bail. They just kept trying. Diddy assumed he'd be out. He thought he'd be out for the 4th of July. He thought he'd be out for Christmas. He thought he'd be out for Thanksgiving. This is recurring. But now, this isn't jail anymore. He's not at MDC Brooklyn. Now he's seeing guys who are going, this is my 9th Thanksgiving, or this is my 15th Thanksgiving. Yeah, this is going to kill him. On this channel, we do a ton of content during the holidays, and we're all out here free. We can go buy as much turkey as we want, right? It's going to be very hard for him in there, as well it should be, right? As well it should be. This guy's a piece of human trash. And I'm not going to make up a bunch of stories about why he's even more human trash, but truth is truth, and I promise you, right? First of all, Fort Dix has a reputation for having a warden that's a hard ass. I realize that warden left, so they're in an interim spot. But if you had a warden that's a hard ass, the next one is going to be too. I promise you. It's not like wardens go, oh, sure, Diddy, take stuff. That can't happen. And the reason it can't happen is if you show favoritism to one inmate, 2 things happen. The entire yard wants to kill that inmate because they can't do it. Why can he do it? Or they have to bend and say anybody can do what he just did. So the policy is, I don't care who you are. And I've been in with famous people. I've been in with people that had a ton of money. I've been in with gangsters who had a ton of money, guys that were hella hard. Big Meech. I was on a bunch of yards with Meech. And do they get special treatment? Guards look the other way about things, but you ain't taking 200 meals to the yard, right? These are policies that are baked into this system for an eternity. And they're counting on the fact that none of us have been to federal prison. TMZ can go out and say any story they want. And the average inmate doesn't have a platform that's going to go live and go, yeah, that's BS. That's BS. That didn't happen. Do they dry the clothes in the same bag? They do. They throw the clothes into the dryer in the same bag. And if you're lucky, they come back dry. They don't always. It has a lot to do with how much stuff you put into that bag. I did not send my clothes to laundry. I did it probably twice and went, yeah, this is a bad idea. It's a really bad idea.
Do you lose items?
Well, it's a great question. Johnny Scoville says, do you lose items out of the bag? And the answer to that is no and yes. If you're on a yard where you can walk down to the laundry the next day, they're not stealing from you. But when I was in the special management unit at Lewisburg, the day I got there, I was putting stuff in a bag and my cellmate goes, do not wash your clothes, bro. They'll throw it. They'll just steal whatever they want. And they're not going to steal your issue, right? Your jumpsuit or your khakis that have your name on it. But you can buy sweatpants, sweatshirts, right? All that stuff. And yeah, they'll peel you for it like that because you're never going to see them. You don't have a shot at it. You don't even know who's washing your clothes. But on a yard like Diddy's on, no, they're not going to steal anything. Cell thieves in general on yards like that end up dead. Lye soap. Is that what John Wayne Gacy used to cover the smell of bodies? Yes and no. He used lye. Lye soap technically is rendered from dead animals.
Nice.
Pleasant, right? They boil the fat of dead animals to make lye soap. But it is acidic to beat the band. It's great. Thank you so much for the support, Rue, by the way. I really appreciate that. It will absolutely clean you, but it'll also take your skin off. You know, it's a very harsh kind of soap. And the Bob Barker stuff is just, you pop it. They come in these little itty bitty pouches, right? They're teeny, teeny little bars of soap. And it says Bob Barker on it. And when you rip it open, you can smell it from 8 feet away. It has the most distinct smell. And I really am glad that I will never smell it again. Someone sent, I was doing a show on this and someone said, what did prison smell like? And my friend who works in the state could tell you this. Prison doesn't smell like anything else you've ever smelled. And it's not what you would assume. It's not body odor and disgusting and guys farting and all that. That people get really salty about people doing stuff like that. If you stink, you better go get clean. Like those kind of things, that's not an issue. But you can smell fear. And I'm not saying this for effect, but I remember the first time I walked in, I went, what is that? Like,
Institutional fear.
It's just that institutional stink. And somebody said to me, it's fear. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. He said, I promise you. And the proof is in the pudding. At really low custody levels, it doesn't smell like that. Level 4 yards have a completely different odor to them because there are people there that shouldn't be there. And what I mean by that is those institutions are designed for killers. Those institutions are designed for people that do bad, even in a controlled environment. The higher the custody level, the more you screwed up inside. Yeah, absolutely, guys get mad at each other for farting. Now, you could have a cellmate that doesn't care.
I heard someone got killed for
Tons of people have been killed for it. So the toilets in prison aren't like the toilets at your house. They don't have a toilet seat, and they're made of metal. And guys will say, flush that. So you sit, and it's almost airtight, and you just keep the thing flushing while you break wind. And there are guys who go, don't bother. I'm not going to get off the rack to do that, so you don't either. But if you're somebody that stinks and you just keep doing it, yeah, people will kill you for that. They don't have a sense of humor about stuff like that. People have been killed for snoring. It happens all the time. It really does. If you got nothing in life and you're stuck in 49 square feet with another man and a toilet and sink, the smallest things in the world can piss you off. And it's one thing if you're on a yard where you can get out every couple of, you spend 3/4 of the day outside. You come back for count, you come back to sleep. But if you're in a lockdown unit, you're in there 23 hours a day with that cellmate. Then you get out for 1 hour and the two of you are in the same cage outside. If you don't learn to get along with that dude, you're courtesy flush. That's exactly right. It's not a turd honking for the right of way. Wharton Fissel, good to see you, my man. I'm glad that you are here. Yes, I think it would make me laugh. It would make you laugh. Thank you again, Ro. I really appreciate that. It would make you laugh until it didn't. And what I mean by that is everything in prison makes you laugh until it starts grating on you. I'll tell you the one that used to kill me, Johnny Skillo.
Tell me.
If I got a cellmate who went, you're in a lockdown unit and it's you and him, you're eating 3 meals a day with this dude. And you're looking at his food and he's making this snapping noise. And you literally have to say to somebody, I'm going to kill you if you don't shut your mouth while you chew. Bummed out your parents didn't teach you this. I can't watch you eat like this, bro. This is going to become violent. And there are people that will say, so there is a specific gang, I don't care anymore, I'm in South America, the Serenos, right? The Southsiders. That gang says you do not pee standing up because it's going to splash all over the cell. And when you live in 49 square feet, they don't want to have to clean the cell the floor near the toilet every 15 minutes. So they turn around backwards, face the wall, and pee like they were sitting down. So you pee facing the wall or you drop a deuce facing the opposite direction. And most of the time you're wearing shorts, so they just kind of pull their junk out to the side. This is policy. There are other gangs that kneel down on one knee to pee. Now, if you end up living with one of these cats and they expect you to do that, I'll tell you something else that's a pet peeve for guys in prison. Don't spit in the sink. You brush your teeth, you spit in the toilet. I remember getting out after doing a long stretch in the feds, and I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm married, right? And I spit in the toilet, and my wife went, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Spit in the sink." You spend so much time thinking, if I spit in the sink, I'm getting in a fist fight. And it kind of makes sense because you don't have a whole lot. So the spit is something that you're going to be using constantly. I remember when one of the first times I talked to my mother from being inside federal prison, she said, "Can you tell me what the cell looks like?" And I was like, "Why?" And she goes, "Because I have this image in my head and I want to make sure that, and I said, "Sure." And I started to describe it. People assume there's bars. There usually are not bars at most facilities. It's a door that closes. But she said, in the toilet, I would imagine is the grossest toilet on earth. Wrong. Wrong. You want to see a clean toilet? You want to see a clean toilet? Go to the feds. Because you probably do your laundry in that toilet.
I got a clean one. 24 hours old.
That one is pretty clean. The one sitting next to it, waiting to be hauled out, not so much. Hit it with a hammer yesterday. Not one of my better days. But anyway, people clean their toilets every day. Every day. Because you're stuck in it. If you lived in a bathroom, you wouldn't have a dirty toilet. I promise you. If you lived in a walk-in closet that had a toilet and a sink in it, both of those things would be clean. Guys get really, really into cleaning their cells. There are guys that buff the floor 3 times a week, and they refer to it as their house or their home. It's one of the things that bums me out more than anything. Guys would go, "No, just meet me up in my house." And I would go, "Bro, don't say that. Don't say that, man. That's a cell." Right? You start getting into the mindset of this is my house, it's going to be. You get in the mindset of this is my home, it's going to be. But please don't buy in to this. Because at this point, all of these stories about Diddy, all of these.
To try to get him out down the road.
Yeah. I mean, TMZ is, right? TMZ has got a gentleman that works with them who is his #1 advisor, right? And his daughter is Diddy's attorney. These stories are designed, right, to elicit a response. They want enough of a response of people going, "Oh, look how nice this guy is," right? "Look how nice this guy is. He's feeding everybody. He's completely turned over a new leaf. This is a good dude." Commute his sentence. He shouldn't be in there. And the narrative that they push is that a lot of it is true, by the way. A lot of it is true. He got caught on the Mann Act. The Mann Act is a fairly lopsided law. The way it's applied. It's been applied to way more black people than it has white people. Back in the day, Chuck Berry, boxers, back in the day, any famous black person they tried to catch for the Mann Act. They almost put this in place to catch people like that. That said, a ton of white dudes have gone to prison for this, right? But historically, it has been way more lopsided in one direction. That's legit. But it doesn't make what Diddy did okay, right? So Diddy dodged a massive bullet because of how they tried him. He will not dodge the next one. He's got a case that they're researching right now in California. I think that's probably going to go forward. But there's 77 current lawsuits against this dude that are moving through the court system. And if you go, "Yeah, Tommy, but that's not criminal, that's civil." How do you think he got into court? He had a civil action taken against him by Cassie Ventura. Once you file that bad boy, and once the court goes, "Okay, this is legit," because there's a lot of them that aren't. But once the court says, "This is legit, we're going to let it move forward." Doesn't mean that it's real. It just means that there's enough meat on the bone to assume it's not BS. Well, once that happens, it becomes public record, right? And now they start talking about it, and they said this and this and this, and local jurisdictions will go, wait a second, this person is suing because he slipped drugs into their drink and sodomized them, and it's happened in the last 5 years. That's a crime. Every one of these 77 cases could end up with charges being filed against this dude. Doesn't mean they're all going to, but the odds that not one of them does, that doesn't pass the smell test. And I'm not going to do what I did in the past. Oh, yeah, give him the death sentence. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon everyone else is doing, right? Because I promise you, if I can piss you off, you're going to stick around. So if I did this, instead of doing it the way I'm doing it, if I put one up and said, Diddy's living the life in prison, that's going to get a lot more views. But he's not. He's not eating like a king. He didn't put on a spread like grandma's. Didn't happen. I promise you it didn't. How many inmates there do you think were buying stuff for Thanksgiving? Diddy, if he got 2 meat chubs, was probably lucky. Yeah, you can buy 12, but in the holiday season, they'll usually go, hey, we're low on these, bro. I can give you 5. You hear it constantly. Hey, man, I put in an order for 12. Yeah, we're really low. If I give you 12, no one else is getting any. You get 5. But these brothers of his, they're the bankroll brothers. These brothers of his apparently could get 1,000 of them. Ain't no way in hell. In fact, they probably don't have 1,000 of them over the course of 4 months in a place like that. It's just not the case.
Well,
and
how many commentators would take to do that?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I remember putting on some unbelievably large spreads. I ran a poker table. And when you run a poker table, you're getting paid to play poker. So you better deliver something to the fellas sitting across from you or they kind of get salty. Because the way it works is this. I'm dealing. Let's say the pot's got $100 in it, right? I'm taking $5 out of that pot. It's called the rake. And I take it on every single pot. So I got to deliver. So every time people would come to play, especially if someone was losing money, you want burritos? What do you guys want? And my cellmate would be ready to cook. And you have to sort of have a big stash of food. So it takes, like, for a good Christmas spread for even you and 25 friends, will take 3 or 4 times going to store. I played a joke on all the guys I worked with in the office, played fart noises on the computer speakers by playing a loud, that was too funny. You can tell us the truth, though. We're all friends here. You just recorded yourself farting and then put it over the speakers. We're not mad at you. We're not. We're not. Come on, that old chestnut. If you get that fart spray and do it in a combo, that's really beautiful. It became a big mystery in the office. The management questioned everyone one by one, trying to figure out what it was. One guy thought it was real. He got up and dashed out of the area. I love that. It's actually funny as hell. But we know what's up. We know what's up. It was you. It's all good. We're not mad at you. But these are the kind of things that they're going to run with these stories because they're paydays. And look, man, when the build up to the trial was cooking, I made a lot of money. And I didn't do it trying to be a dirtbag. I swear to God I didn't. I did it just buying into things that other people said and not being smart enough to go and research the hell out of it. It's a lot easier now because I spent a long time in federal prison. And the stuff that comes out about this, like, to this day, mainstream media is saying, we don't know whether or not he drank. This is the narrative. He has due process. Due process in prison is that fast. You go in there and you go, I'm guilty. If you say you're not guilty, they go, no, you are. I'm serious. If you plead not guilty, it's still over that day. They'll hear out your whole thing and they'll nod like this and go, yeah, you're guilty. Nobody beats anything in federal prison. You don't. If you did, it's because they screwed up. They caught you with booze. They took the booze outside and poured it out. You have to be able to test the alcohol. If they make a massive mistake, you might dodge a bullet. It's still going to be over that fast. That's just how it works. So when we saw his good time credits, when we saw his outdate move away from him by 27 days, damn straight he got caught drinking. But the narrative is still, well, we don't know that that's what happened. So they just took good time away from him for nothing. And they took the amount of good time away that they take from everybody the first time they get caught drinking. And I say the first time, if you're on a soft yard, right, a level 1 or a 2 yard, if you get caught drinking twice in 1 year, you're going to lose 27 days both times. You theoretically could lose even more. If you're at a USP, you lose 27 days the first time you get caught drinking, they're not going to hit you with that again. That you're only going to lose probably 40 or 50 days over the course of an entire year. You could fail 12 drug screens, right? You could fail 15 drug screens and not lose more than 50 days because it's a category. And they let you get away with more. They punish you less at a USP because they already assume you're a savage. And what they're really worried about is how many people are stabbing each other in the yard. The lower the custody level goes, they don't give a crap. At the higher custody levels, like Diddy makes a phone call and says, I'm trying to put a spread on. I want to send $300 over to this guy's books so he can go shop. You're caught. And he's already been caught. He has a phone shot pending. So he's already been caught trying to do exactly that. I don't think it was for Turkey, but he already got caught trying to send money to somebody. He has a current phone shot, right? Pending. Phone shots take a little bit longer because, especially with what he had going, allegedly a three-way call or whatever. But that's a different series of shot. If you got caught at a USP for that once, the next time they're not taking good time.
Look at the way he's lived and get caught drinking. It must be brutal.
Johnny Scola makes a good point. Can you imagine living the life that this guy lived? He was the face of Chirac. Right. Now he's drinking toilet wine made of Fanta and apples. Right? What are you doing, Squirrel Nut Zipper?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, how you doing? Look at that. That was my cat jumping up on the computer. You know, we got to get her a basket.
We do.
We got to move the basket because we're in a different part of the house, and she really is becoming kind of needy. And she's biting me on camera. How you doing? Here's your malfunction. She gets a little clingy if I don't pay attention to her. Please. Yeah, I'm begging you. And you can say, yeah, I'm not buying into it, Tommy. If you go over and watch all this BS content, you're paying the people that are lying to you. And I'm not trying to bag on anybody, but for God's sakes, forget TMZ. For real, forget TMZ. It is worse. And I'll tell you what's funny. Do you know the only other agency out there that ran with this? The National Enquirer. Yeah, the National Enquirer covered this story too. I have more respect for the National Enquirer than I do for TMZ. For real. TMZ is awful. And because of the fact that Harvey Levin does a show with a guy that is definitely in Diddy's pocket, it kind of just makes you wonder about the credibility anyway.
He's smart. I don't like him.
I don't really either. Hold on one second. I'm going to blow the schnozzle here. I don't want it to sound like a flugelhorn. There you go. A long time ago, I was in county jail for shoplifting on a weekend. Overnight, I would listen to the two girls talking all night. I'd laugh out loud, and they'd say, is she listening?
Ear hustling.
Ear hustling. They call that inside. People lose their sense of humor over that. When I used to go through Oklahoma City, that is the transfer center in the feds. If Diddy gets in trouble and they ship him, he's either going to go through Atlanta or he's going to go through Oklahoma. Those are the two. It's like O'Hare. Right, all of the planes are going to come into one of two places, either Atlanta on the East Coast, or if you're getting more west, it's going to be Oklahoma City. And it is a high rise. The airplane pulls up, the deal comes out to the side of it. When you walk out, you're in prison. They take your cuffs off, they process you through. I used to get shot straight upstairs because my custody level was so high that I would get put in the shoe. If you're going to a real prison, you don't get to go to a dorm. So I would get sent to the shoe upstairs. The good news about that is I didn't have to sit downstairs with all those idiots filling out papers for 4 hours. If you're a bad guy, your black box is what they call it. Everybody on the airplane can go like this. They're handcuffed, but the handcuffs have a chain. So you can kind of move around and eat and do all of that. If they consider you a bad man, like if you accidentally punch a cop in the face, it wasn't one of my better decisions. But they take a black box that goes over the chain. Now you're locked, and you literally are locked, like you're not moving. But the term is called black box. And if you're black boxed, when you get off the plane, they take you straight upstairs in the elevator and they put you in the shoe. But they have showers inside the shoe. You're 24 hours a day in there until they ship you. And those showers are directly above the female cells below. And you could sit and listen to them talk and do their thing all night long. And guys, no lie, would start yelling down to them and tell them their registered number, and relationships have spawned over that. You got to hope they worked out. You know what I mean? Don't you? I love blossoming any way it can. I'm just a romantic at heart, but I never tried to yell down to any of the women. True story. I was kind of freaked out. Momo Jim, hello, glad you are here. But I'm not trying to shoot down anybody's content. I'm not. But I was that jackass, right, in the past. Don't let people run with these stories and believe them. I promise you, there is zero truth. Now, I would absolutely bet that They spent a day or two cutting up, and to make a spread, you got to buy onions, right? You got to buy garlic. You can't buy any of that at store. Somebody has to steal that from the kitchen, right? Stick it in their pants, put it in their socks, under their armpits, whatever they got to do to get it out of there and back to the unit. It is Tommy, is there a program for lesser offenders? Welding, plumbing? Absolutely. You got 30 days and went to a low security jail called the Farm. You realize how many places around the U.S. are called the Farm? I've actually been to one. There are a ton of places called the Farm. There are programs for, it's not even necessarily lesser offenders. You can be a guy that has, like, you can be a bank robber and get into these programs. But what you have to do is document that you're going to be a good inmate. And I don't mean that in a bad way, right? Inmate is an insult inside prison. One more second. Cricket says, so glad I already ate dinner. I don't need to be thinking about sock garlic. You know what? I'm calling you before you eat tomorrow night to remind you of the sock garlic. So if you get in there and you do everything right, you can, it doesn't matter what your crime is. You just have to show them. You have two kinds of points in the feds. You have your criminal points. That's what you did to get in there. And they rate you on a level. Then you have what's called yard points. And yard points are what you have done in the BOP. So Diddy's yard points are going up. His yard points are going up for drinking. His yard points are going up for using the phones. He could get to a point. He gets another drinking shot. Your yard points go high enough and they go, you outgrew your custody level. You're at a low and your points are now medium. And they will move you from there to a new facility. Keep screwing up there and they will move you from there. And eventually these guys will end up at a United States penitentiary. And like I was talking about earlier, that's designed for killers. But a guy that smokes weed nonstop and gets caught 10 times for it will end up in one of those facilities. Probably shouldn't be there, right? But if you keep getting written up for small stuff, your yard points eventually are going to get so high that they're going to have to send you to a real prison, right? A penitentiary. In the feds, they come in camps, FCIs, which is a federal correction institution, and then a USP, that's the United States Penitentiary. Your goal is to avoid the penitentiary. They're dangerous. People get killed there. There are gangs. There are fights. There are ugly things that happen every day in the pen, right? They may not happen in your unit. Like it isn't going to be a Wes Watson situation where every 5 minutes somebody's getting stabbed. If you do a 5-year sentence, you might see 5 people get stabbed. That doesn't mean that every day someone's not getting stabbed, but the odds that it's happening in your unit and the odds that it's happening in your unit and it's happening out where you can see it, it's not like the movies. I promise you it's not. It's not like the movies. It's very, very different. It's boring to beat hell until it's not. And then and that waiting for the shoe to drop, sitting around and waiting for, are we going to get a good stretch with nothing that goes wrong? When I was in Victorville, California, over the course of 1 year, I think we spent 90 days off lockdown. That means for the entire freaking year, you're eating in your cell, except for 90 days. They cut the warden. He took 72 staples. His name was Calvin Johnson, the warden. He's a good dude too, man. As far as wardens go, he was actually a pretty good one. But somebody tried to kill him. And they came in with guns for that one. That was ugly. They cut the warden, the captain, who's like the highest ranking dude there. It's really kind of an ugly facility. We have a low security prison camp in northern Minnesota. Teaches their people how to process game. Oh, yeah. Like you shoot a deer, you bring it there. Nice. So there are places that teach people how to make furniture. There are places that do wiring harnesses for the government. When I was at FCI Phoenix, there were guys in there soldering, and they were doing wiring harnesses, big, fat tubes full of wires that they had to weld everything, and it was for the military. They do fiber optic stuff. But if you look at the number of people, it's called Unicor. And I worked at Unicor. I was lucky enough to get a job there. And people always go, yeah, slave labor, they're taking advantage of you. Absolutely there. You're working for pennies. And you will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. What's that?
There's phone rooms.
Yeah, there are phone rooms in some prisons, mostly states. There are no feds that do that. But for me, I was making uniforms for the military. But if you get up in the morning, your reality is prison, right? So the guy that the school shooter from Florida, right? I just been doing some research on that kid. What's his name? The guy that shot up the Parks thing. Anyway, The rest of your life is the same thing every single freaking day. There is no change. You get up at the same time. You eat the same crap. Every Tuesday you're eating this. Every Wednesday you're eating. So in the feds, Tuesdays you're eating a Mexican dish, tacos, whatever. Wednesday is hamburgers. Every single Wednesday. Right? Thursday is chicken. Every single Thursday. It never changes. That nonstop repetition will drive you insane. So if you have the ability to get a job at a Unicor, now you're a factory worker. Now you show up in the morning, you punch in with a card, right? You have to interact with a bunch of people, and there's a product that you're trying to build and get out, and there are people that do all of these. Nicholas Cruz, thank you very much, MJ. Yeah, the park, Nicholas Cruz, absolutely a lowlife. And apparently he's suicidal. Yeah, apparently he's suicidal. They can't put him with anyone else. Yeah, wouldn't you? Yeah, oh no. Seriously, slip that dude a razor. If he ends up bumping himself off, I don't think anybody's going to shed a lot of tears. But this jackwagon can't be put with anybody else. You can't put him in a cell with anybody because they're going to kill him. So for the rest of his life, he's going to be in solitary confinement. You got any idea what that's like? Seriously? Raise your hand if you ever did a year in solitary confinement. It's a bitch. I promise you. It's a bitch. Now, I'm better at it than most. I promise you. Like I watched, even when you're in solitary confinement, there's a guy down the hall that's in solitary confinement. There's a guy down the hall, and you can kind of yell to each other. And you can fish with a line back and forth, but you can't have a conversation, right?
I think he's already talking to himself.
Oh, he's talking to himself. I talk to myself. Everybody talks to themselves in solitary. But I read. For me, it was like I didn't have a cellmate asking me questions or asking me to play cards. I could sit down and just bang out books, one right after the other. The frustration in solitary is you will read faster than you can get books. The book cart comes once a week. By the time you've been on solitary 4 months, you've read the entire freaking book cart. But there's no way you haven't. So you got to start buying books and having them brought in and try to trade back and forth. Wow, 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 wow. Go-kart race. This is lap 2. My money's on number 7. I saw him practicing going down the street today. I got a video of it. But yeah, they do have those programs, Wharton Thistle. And on top of that, at every prison, you have a plumber. That plumber ain't a cop. At every prison, you got somebody welding. It ain't a cop. At every prison, you got people cooking. The cops just guard inmates. Don't get it messed up. The cops aren't cooking. They're not cleaning. They're not doing any of that. That's why nothing is a bigger threat to an institution than if somebody goes, we're not going to work tomorrow. They'll lose their mother-loving mind. When I was at Phoenix, and I didn't work in Unicor at Phoenix. I didn't have a job there. I was just partying. I was still a jackwagon. But I was getting high and doing my thing. The guys at Unicor got pissed because they changed the policy. And the policy was at night, when they come through for the count at 9 o'clock, you have to stand up for count. They had never done that before. And the reason they did it is because 2 guys made dummies. That was number 9. 2 guys made dummies of themselves and managed to escape. So they changed the policy. If you work at 5 o'clock in the morning and you go to sleep at 8, you don't want to hop up and get counted. And it made these guys salty, like pissed off, salty. So they did a work stoppage. They said, if they're going to force us, Deadhead, good to see you. If they're going to force us to get up and stand up for count, we're not going to work. So the morning came, and about 40 people went to Unicor. 280 worked there. They brought buses up, and everybody that didn't go was gone. And I mean, you ain't packing your stuff gone. They had buses there. They just said, that's it. Let's go. You, gone. It is one of those things that they can't tolerate because every prison is run by inmates. And I don't mean like we're running the joint. I mean, we're doing the laundry. We're cooking the food. We are the repair guys. We are the plumbers. We are everything other than the people that are just making sure that we're not killing each other. That's all guards do. They make sure you're not having sex. They make sure you're not drinking, and they make sure you're not killing each other. That's kind of their job. I'm in semi-solitary confinement in New York for the next few months. I'm not incarcerated, but it's definitely isolated. Yeah, the thing with solitary confinement, and by the way, this has now been litigated all the way to the Supreme Court, and it is cruel and unusual punishment. And they're cutting down the amount of time that you're allowed to be in solitary, unless, of course, you're in the feds, because by design, like the administrative detention facility in Florence, Colorado, often called ADX, right, where El Chapo de Guzman, he's there. It's a short fella. Yeah, sold a lot of dope. Yeah, Juan El Chapo. He's there. You're not getting a cellmate. That doesn't mean there aren't people there with cellmates. But there are wings in there that you're going to do the rest of your life in solitary. I have had the fortune or misfortune to do time with guys who just left there. I had a cellmate that had done 9 years in solitary, and I was his first cellie. Lovely. He just wouldn't shut up. He wasn't a jerk. Yeah, he wasn't a jerk, but he never stopped talking because he was kind of starved for it. Did you experience empathy for inmates with special needs? People, for example, inmates on the spectrum. That's such a fantastic question. If I didn't think it would just be really bad form, I would show you a picture of one of them because I have a picture of him. This guy came in to prison when I was on the put on suicide watch. Yeah. So I didn't meet him, and this guy was on the spectrum. We called him Bobby Hill because he looked like Bobby Hill from the TV program, King of the Hill. But I was watching him when he first came up. He walked in, and I had just gotten out. I still had a beard from being on suicide watch for 40 days. And he came up and said, what's your name? What do they call you? And I said, Rock, which is what most people in prison call me. And he goes, Bob? I go, no, Rock. And he goes, Rock. And he turned around and walked away. And I said to the guy I was standing with, I said, what the hell is that? And he goes, that's Bobby Hill. I goes, he a little touched? He goes, big time. And he goes, but nobody messes with him. And I go, well, that's kind of cool. We adopted this dude in the unit. But I used to watch him go down to the chow hall, and he would walk in front of me. And one day I was paying attention because you don't normally, you're just in a routine. He said hi to 600 people on the way there. Every one of them he knew the name of. There was not one dude on that yard that he didn't know the name of. So I don't know what they call it anymore. Maybe they call it, what's that? Well, they used to say idiot savant. I don't think that's a particularly politically correct term anymore. Now I think they probably call it Asperger's or some variation of it. But there was a part of this kid's brain that didn't work well. There was another part of this kid's brain that worked so well it was terrifying. And we were sitting there one day and he was playing cards. And normally you're supposed to play cards just with a particular race. It's not because we're racist, but it's because if you get into an argument with somebody that's not the same color as you, then we can have a riot. So you kind of keep to your own, and that's sort of the unwritten rules or the written rules, right? So he's sitting and playing cards, and they're playing spades, right? And a guy throws a card down, and he goes, that card's already been played. And the dude goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you threw that card 5 cards ago. And the guy's like, you know what you're talking about? And he started getting up to get heated. And all the white boys walked over and went, say what you will about this fool, he doesn't lie. And I promise you, if he said you played that card, you played it. And it almost got bad. But he was in there for threatening to knock off the president who was in office at the time and the one that was about to come in. He called the White House and said he would get rid of both of them if they didn't make some changes. That can get you 65 years, by the way. It got him 4, but he never should have been there. He never should have been there. And there are a lot of people in prison that you come across and you just go, this isn't where this dude should be. Like this guy should probably, it's sad as hell. However, 9 out of 10 times, those people don't get abused, at least in my experience. The exception to that would be, even if you're kind of damaged, if you hurt a kid, they don't care. Like all bets are off. On the bright side,
that's just a reason to hurt somebody.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If you go into a prison, state, federal, whatever, and you could get every single inmate in there to tell you the truth, which would be a real struggle, I promise you. But if you went in there and said, what percentage of you were molested as kids, right? The vast majority of people in there were molested as kids. I hear people say all the time, oh, they get in there and all of a sudden they've got ethics or whatever. They don't have any ethics. They were just molested. And now you get a guy that's going to come in and molested somebody and they're like, I'm going to beat the piss out of you for what happened to me. You know, and most of these people have kids or they have, tell you stories about farting, please. You know what? I only have one good one. And unfortunately, you might know the person that I'd be telling the story about. So, but stick around. Maybe I'll think of one. I was telling the story recently to Johnny Scoville. I was in a state prison. The first prison I went to was a state prison. When you come in the door, right, they give you a care package. And by they, I don't mean the state, your race. So you walk in and they come up and they go, hey, welcome to the yard. Here's nail clippers. Here's shower slides, right? The shoes you wear to go in the shower. You cannot shower in prison without shower shoes on. They'll kill you for it. I'm not kidding you. They take it seriously. So they give you your shower slides. They give you soap. They give you shampoo. Yeah, what's that?
Snickers bar.
Johnny's no bueno. Some toothpaste, right? hopefully not a Snickers bar. No, some soup, some coffee. It's a care package, right? And it was almost Christmas time, and I was playing poker in a place we called the Dungeon, which was single cells, but not solitary confinement. It was like pimping, right? You had a job in there that was a good job, so you had a single cell. And we had a little table back there. We were separate from everything else. We were playing cards, and a black guy walked in, and he goes, everybody sitting at the table is white. One guy, no shirt on, has a swastika on his shoulder that's this big. Not a very tolerant guy. And a black guy knocks, and we waved him in, and he goes, I know they call white guys woods or peckerwoods. He goes, I know I'm not a peckerwood. He goes, well, my car's got nothing for me. They're just the most disorganized people in the world. He's like, man, I got nothing from these guys. Can I get fingernail clippers? He's like, my fingernails get any longer. I got to paint them. And the guy with the swazi on his shoulder went, yeah, I'll give you. They gave you nothing? And he goes, nothing. He goes, yeah. And I probably got some shower slides you can have too. And within 4 minutes, this dude had a laundry bag this big full of stuff. And I remember sitting there at the time and thinking, this is the nastiest of places. And you see the absolute worst of humanity. But you stick around and you absolutely will see the best of humanity as well. Rue, you know what's funny is I took Bobby Hill down. It costs $3 to get your picture taken. And I said to him, hey, we're going to get pictures. Why don't you come down with me? It was heartbreaking. We went in there and he goes, yeah, I'll go down with you. And I got a picture, got my arm around him. I had a picture taken. I didn't want to forget the kid. And as we were walking away, he goes, you know, outside of a booking photo, that may be the first time anyone's ever taken my picture. And I just thought about how many times the average person gets their picture taken. It's like having your stomach ripped out. This guy isn't in there because the world treated him well, right? The world treated me well. I was a drug addict and an asshole. This kid was in there because it's just a rough, kind of a rough story. But I said to him, we struck up a friendship, and I had a deck of cards once, and I said to him, if I went like this and showed you the whole deck, how many cards do you think you could go back through? And he goes, I could tell you all of them. Try doing this. See how many cards you get through. If you get through 10 or 11, that's impressive. I go, you think you could do the whole deck? He goes, absolutely. So I went like this, fast as hell. And then I turned him over, and he would tell me before I turned the card over what the card was going to be. His memory was terrifying. Honest to God. He got an almanac, right, for sports and read the whole thing. And you could say to him, World Series 1982, who won and who pitched? Rain Man. Yeah. Yeah, except he had a way better personality. He had a great sense of humor. He really did. The craziest thing was he had the inability to lie. Somebody asked him something, and I won't tell you what it is, but it was super embarrassing, and he just admitted to it. And I said to him, why would you have not just, he goes, he asked me. I go, yeah, but you didn't have to tell him. He goes, well, I wasn't going to lie. He literally just couldn't lie. And it was great because somebody that was beating on him once, I'll just tell you this story. But Bobby may have messed around with a guy or two in there, may have been bisexual. He wasn't being taken advantage of. He just didn't care. But somebody said to him, called him a foul name that had something to do with performing oral sex on the guy. And the guy called him that, and he goes, yeah, but you and I did that like an hour and a half ago. And everybody in the room was like, and Bobby didn't lie. Like everybody in there knew it was the plumber that he busted. It was funny as hell, actually. But I digress. Rocket Queen says, one's for that kid. I love that. I really do. I love that. He could use the prayers. He was
Is he probably out?
Oh, I don't know if he stayed out, but he was out. He would have gotten out before I did. Yeah, when I met Bobby Hill, I had 7 more years to do. So Bobby, he only had a 4-year sentence. So he's been out forever. Well, Rue, I never got more than 2 decks of cards. I would have loved to see if he could have done more than 2, but he did. But he did 2 decks of cards. No hiccup, no nothing. And you know what's funny is my cellmate was a jackwagon, but my cellmate was doing it with him, and he switched the cards. Like he screwed with the cards on the bottom of the deck. And when he called it out, he goes, "Oh, you missed this one." And Bobby goes, "No, I didn't." He's like, "No, I didn't. You changed those." I mean, he also played a really mean game of chess. I told you that story. Holiday season, they set up 6 tables so that 6 guys could be playing against 6 guys at any given time. And toward the end of the day, Bobby goes, "Anybody want to play?" And he was playing 9 people. Like he was going from table to table. And kind of Rain Man-ish. Like he would knock a guy, in 7 moves, and he would go, "You're not good at this. You shouldn't play." I'd be like, "Bobby, maybe don't say that. You're not good at this." I took him to store once, and we were there together, and he ordered grape drink in little packets. Doesn't have sugar in it because you can make wine out of it. So it's like aspartame or some shit, but it tastes like grape. And he goes, you didn't give me my grape drink. Now, these are cages, right, that they sit behind and chutes that come down, but you can see product, not a lot of it, just what's at the end of the row. And the guy goes, yeah, we didn't have any grape. And he goes, it's right there. And the guy goes, yeah, but the truck got here, so we haven't put any of that in an inventory. I can't give it to you today. It's right there. And he just, like, he couldn't get by that. He's like, what are you talking about? It's right there. And then he used a couple of words that you're just not supposed to use in prison. Park bench.
Wow.
Called the guy a punk and a bitch, which are two words that literally will just get you punched in the face. And I don't mean occasionally. If you call someone that, they have to hit you. If not, it reflects. And this dude's trying to run from around. And when he came around the corner, fortunately, I wasn't the one that had to stop him. But a guy grabbed him and sort of held him like this and said, hey, man, he ain't right. You're not going to get any cool points for punching this kid. I promise you, you hit this dude, you ain't catching any cool points. People will forgive you not hitting this dude. One time I was parking my car in a spot next to a halfway house. The guys in there were hanging moons. Oh, lovely. The window had nice. That here, you know what? They don't. Yeah, you can't let it slide. You really can't. It's one of those things that if you let slide, they think you are soft. Yeah, park bench. And if they think you're soft, life gets really bad really quickly. But so just to finish up this Diddy thing, not only was there no spread, the other popular story that's going around right now is that this place is just a bang fest. Like there's just all of these, naked, greased up guys going to the shower for orgies. Absolutely no chance in hell. None. I'm not telling you that guys don't have sex with each other in prison, but they're hiding that crap like you would not believe. Because if it gets out, their race has to do something about it. Diddy's a black man. If there are black guys having orgies in the shower, the white guys, the Mexican guys, the Native Americans, the Islander car, they're all going to go to him and go, hey, you know what's going on in the bathroom? Clean that up or we're gonna. This is how race riots start. No one is having open sexual relations in a shower in a federal prison. It ain't happening. Sorry. Makes for a great story. He's covered himself in baby oil. Makes for clicks, right? Gets people some money. But it's bullshit. And don't let them sell that stuff to you, man. Yeah, they'll use you, Deadhead. That's exactly right. They'll go into your, literally, if you're in the day room and you're playing cards and a guy goes, man, you punk, and you don't do anything about it, they will get up from the poker table and go to your cell and start taking your radio, your clothing, because you've already proved you're not going to do anything. You don't have to win a fist fight. This is something other people don't seem to get. So much difference in prisons from Scotland, America, etc. There's definitely a lot of differences from certain things are similar, but there's definitely a lot of differences. But in the if you lose a fist fight in prison, you don't lose status for that. They're not going to go, oh, we got to get rid of him. He lost a fist fight. They'll take care of you. I've watched guys get the crap beat out of them. Their faces are this big, and they'll go, hey, they'll come into your cell and go, I need you to give me 5 or 10 soups. I need you to throw me out some meat, some fish. Why? So-and-so just got his ass kicked. He cannot walk to the chow hall. It's probably going to be a week before he can go to the chow hall. So we're going to feed him. There's no disrespect to losing a fight. There's a crap load of disrespect for backing down from one, right? You can fight all day long and lose, and no one's ever going to crap on you for that. They might rib you a little bit, right? Boy, did really well on that one, right? But they're not going to run you off the yard for that. You're going to gain instant respect for having the balls to stand up there and swing. I don't think Diddy's gonna do well. I think he's already demonstrating that. All right, people. I'm Tommy. We're going to call this a night on account of the fact that I think that's about all I got to say. I really appreciate the kindness. Rue, thank you so much. Really appreciate the super chat. And you know what, folks? I'm having a lot of fun. Stop by tomorrow. I'll be doing a couple of different shows. This is the holiday season. So the boat will be putting up at least 2 shows a day minimum from now until New Year's, or until I can sneak Reese into Ecuador again. All right, people. I'm Tommy. I will see you on the next one. Between now and then, be kind to one another and don't buy into the BS. I promise you get lied to. See you on the next one. Have a good night. God